Hey, Tim from Notion Management here. Thanks for joining me. I'm a Notion Pro and Notion consultant based in Victoria, Australia, and I'd like to share some tips with you about how to create beautiful Notion pages for mobile. Notion does a pretty good job of making most of its powerful features available to mobile, but there are some tricks to making sure your pages work properly and still look good. Today's video is going to focus on two elements. First being pages, different kinds of blocks within pages, which ones to use, which ones to leave out. And we're also going to focus on tables. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time looking at the different views of tables and different ways that you can adapt those views so that they work really well on mobile. I've set up the page so that you should be able to see both the desktop and the mobile view at the same time. Now, the desktop view is in dark mode just so that the screen doesn't reflect off my glasses. And the desktop view is also shrunk, so I've just cropped out the edges. And the page is in the small width, not the full width page, but actually it doesn't make any difference to the mobile version. So if you set that small text setting or the page width setting, it'll change what it looks like on the desktop, but it won't affect the mobile version at all. So we're going to start with the pages and just blocks on the pages. Now, most blocks look excellent. Most blocks I couldn't find any issues with at all. But there are a few things to watch, so we'll go through those. Wrapping text. Now the text wrap's fine. It's just that what looks like not that much text on a desktop page looks like heaps on mobile. So you can see here, what's that? 3 paragraphs, decent paragraphs worth of text on the desktop version is more than the whole screen on mobile, and it just makes it kind of unapproachable. Embeds. Most embeds work really well. They look really nice. You can see here we've got the Google Maps. Looks really good on desktop, but it looks equally good on mobile. This is the beautiful city of Geelong where I'm from. You can move around. Looks great. Google Drive files embed really well. Miro stuff embeds really well. Most of the embeds, like I said. The only thing really to watch is the PDF embed, like the native one for Notion itself. It doesn't work very well. So it looks great on the desktop. It actually allows you to scroll inside the file, which is really nice. But if you look on mobile, you can only see a link to the file. You don't get an embed at all. So I'd give that one a miss. Breadcrumbs. Not sure if people use breadcrumbs very much, but I find them really useful when you're trying to help people navigate a page that's got multiple levels to it. And you can see here, this is the breadcrumb for this particular page that we're working on at the moment. Now, even the desktop version can't display the whole thing, so if I click the little dots, I see the missing piece. On mobile, it just doesn't have enough room, so there's just not enough width to the page, and it truncates some of them. So you can't even see the word databases, you can't even see the word blog, and if I tap on it, instead of showing me what the word is, it takes me to the full page. So it's not really that useful. The only thing that saves it is actually, if I tap the little dots on mobile, I get a really nice view of the breadcrumb. But in terms of if you've got long breadcrumbs, I wouldn't put them on the mobile version just because it looks really ugly, and for the most part it's not that useful. Alright, columns. These are key. And they can be fantastic, they can be beautiful, and you can represent like heaps of data in a fantastic way on the desktop page, and then on the mobile version see it as you would expect if you set it up right. If you set it up wrong, you'll see what happens. So here in my example we've got 9 different sections of text, and we're trying to display it in 3 columns across the page. On desktop that looks really good, there's no problem there. The issue is that when converting from a desktop version to mobile version, Notion displays the information according to the columns, as if these were pages of their own, if you like. So you'll see, if you look at the mobile version now, you can see it reads section 1, section 4, section 7, when we really want it to read section 1, section 2, section 3. So the way to fix that is, instead of having these columns unbroken down the page, we want effectively to create 3 rows of columns. So what I've done here, I'll just use this divider to show you, is I've created 1 row of columns and then had a break, and then another row of columns and had a break. and that allows it to display, if we scroll to the mobile version, as you would expect. And it looks good. So it just stacks stacks the columns one on top of the other. Worth being aware of, and once you're like across it, you'll make great looking pages using columns. Alright, let's move on to database views. Now these are really key. Databases are obviously a super powerful part of Notion. We love them. We can do all kinds of cool things with them. The table view, like in normal Notion usage, is excellent. It's not always the prettiest, but it presents you with all the data. You can see everything. You can see all your data in context. It's super useful. As you can see on mobile, I mean, what can we see? 6 or 7 properties at a time in this view of a page. But on mobile, you can only see 1.5, and you lose the context. So if we scroll across, we've got our tasks here. We can't see what the task name is while we're looking at all the other properties. So it really becomes not that useful. Board views, a lot of people are a big fan of board views. Now on desktop they're great, and the point and click of a mouse makes them super easy to move around. On mobile, there's a bit of sideways scrolling again, but it's not, the contextual issue is not so much there. But what is a little bit tricky is that to move them, if you just tap them, they'll open. And so you sort of push on them and hold, and then they like activate, and then you can move them around. So it's possible, and they're actually not too bad, but it's not super easy, and it can be a little clunky. The calendar view is on desktop, can be really great for seeing a timeline of, say, a project or events that are coming up, and yeah, this is not a great example because there's not heaps of data in here. But on mobile, it's quite a different experience. It's still okay, and you can see, you get a calendar view just like on desktop, but you can't see any of the details of the events. But if you click on a date, it will actually open up that view and show you like even more info than you get to see on the desktop version. So it's not bad, just a different experience. The list view, now being the most minimalist view, you would expect the list view to be good, and it is. On desktop, it's very simple. If you try and show too many properties, it doesn't look great. And the same is true here. So on mobile, you just get a really nice clean list view. If you don't show too many properties, it works quite well. The gallery is where it shines. The gallery looks great. I actually think the gallery on mobile looks better than the gallery on desktop. So what happens is it takes all these cards and it just stacks them one on top of the other. Doesn't matter if you make them small or medium or large. In the desktop view it'll change, but in the mobile view it won't change at all. And they look fantastic, especially if you put an image in them. They stack one on top of the other, really nice and clean. You just tap them to open. It's a great look. I hope those are some helpful tips for you to create beautiful Notion mobile pages. Please reach out on Twitter if you've got any questions or comments. I would love to hear any tips that you have. I will post a link to this page that we've been working on, which is a blog post with all the details that I've gone through in here in it. So please use that. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.